In this episode of The Edit, we talk to all-round entertainer Joe Pasquale. Plus, we preview some of 2021's biggest movies. The Edit, brought to you by Glam Doll, bringing Hollywood home. Hello and welcome to The Edit with me, Lisa Cannon. 2021 is finally here, and that means we are back in our Glam Doll studios bringing Hollywood home. This new year means 12 months to look forward to of brand new films, fashion and entertainment. And we're kicking off the first show of 2021 with an exclusive chat with English national treasure, comedian and broadcaster Joe Pasquale, who is famous for his stints in the jungle with I'm A Celebrity and Dancing on Ice. But most recently, Joe has penned a new book entitled Dead Knobs and Doomsticks 2, Tales from the Lockdown.
So I'd be writing it while I was on the way to gigs. One minute I'm doing comedy, doing stand-up. The next minute I'm doing all this blood, guts and gore.
We'll also be back on the sofa chatting with our resident film critic Gordon Hayden about the most eagerly anticipated movies of 2021. But first, Marvel Studios has a new offering entitled WandaVision, which dropped on Disney Plus in the middle of January. It's a blend of classic 1950s television meets the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Sounds quirky? Well, it is. Starring Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany, let's see if Gordon thinks it's a good litmus test for what's to come this year. Take a look.
Heavenly shades of night are falling. It's twilight time.
Wanda and Vision, aren't we a five-pair?
This is our home now. I want us to fit in.
Oh, this is gonna be a gas!
Where did you two move from? How long have you been married? And why don't you have children yet?
Our story.
I think what my wife means to say is that we moved from...
Moved from where? Married when? Damn it, why?
Oh, Arthur, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
Deep in the dark, your kiss will thrill
Is this really happening?
like days of old, lighting the spark of love that fills me with dreams of hope.
Am I dead?
No. Why would you think that?
Because you are.
Each day I pray for evening just to be.
We are an unusual couple, you know.
Oh, I don't think that was ever in question.
A little bit there from WandaVision. Wow, very strange, Gordon. You're very welcome back to The Edit. Tell me a little bit more about this, because although it's out at the moment, is it for everyone?
When I first saw the trailer to this, I honestly thought, Lisa, it was like Marvel had hired David Fincher, David Lynch, because it looks very out there, very odd, very strange. And you definitely feel from watching it that there's more than meets the eye. So in your intro there, like it is following very much like a sitcom type of scenario. So I was expecting that it wouldn't follow the template of an old 1950s sitcom, and that it would nearly sort of start to verge into more of a Twilight Zone sort of feel. But the episode plays very much like an old 1950s sitcom that would have been a mainstay in American television. So It's very much Vision and Wanda, they're living the suburban life, and he comes home and announces that his boss is going to be joining them for dinner with his own wife. And Wanda's like, oh no, I'm not prepared. So she has to try and scramble together and make this really opulent dinner and hope that the boss doesn't realise that Vision completely forgot to tell her that they were coming over for something to eat. That's episode one, right? right. That's episode one. And you go, okay, when is it going to play its hand and we're going to realise that this is all, there's got to be more than meets the eye. Now, it does at the end of the episode, and it makes you think, okay, there's something is strange, but it needed more of, as I felt, the Twilight Zone episode. It needed more of that to come to the fore, and that doesn't happen. Then episode 2, I went, aha, it'll start to play its hand now. And then there's just this weird voice that's heard on the radio in the background that says something to Wanda, like, Wanda, you're in trouble, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
You got to get out of there. And you kind of go, okay, so all of this sitcom scenario, this is a veneer. Something is up with Wanda and Vision. Are they trapped in some other reality? Who knows? It will play its hand, but I think the fact that with WandaVision, it's being released week after week after week on Disney Plus, I can see some fans really being tested by it, because I think it needs to give them a little bit more. It needs to play into more of the weirdness, like what is really going on, as opposed to the sitcom.
See, I looked at it, and I know they're pushing it very hard. There's kind of lots and lots of trailers and lots of kind of promo around it, and I thought, is it going to be a bit like Mork and Mindy? Could it be something that I could get into? But I just haven't pressed the button. It just hasn't intrigued me enough.
It's so different to what you'd normally expect from Marvel. And look, never bet against Kevin Feige. He's the head of Marvel Studios. That man, since 2008, with Iron Man, he has always been one step ahead of the pack. Like what he's doing at Marvel, Lucasfilm could learn an awful lot from him. Hence why it's now been announced that Kevin Feige is going to make a Star Wars movie. Yeah, because they know, I think, to be honest with you, a lot of Star Wars fans would like Kevin Feige to take over at Lucasfilm and give Kathleen Kennedy the boot, but that's a chat for another day. But yeah, it does seem very strange, and I do feel, maybe, Lisa, that they're copying the Mandalorian model where they're releasing an episode a week. I think with WandaVision, because it's so weird and so out there, it probably would have benefited to have all the episodes at once.
Okay.
That everyone could just really binge on it and get a really good understanding of the strange, mysterious story that really is at play. Because that will eventually be revealed. But I think viewers' patience won't last the pace.
I'll be interested to see what the ratings are and if it's hitting the high notes, but we'll watch this space. Now, of course, cinemas, we're hoping they're going to be back open now this year. What's coming down the track that we can possibly see?
Well, there's so much on offer, because you obviously remember last year with cinemas being closed, so many of the big releases were pushed to 2021.
Course, yeah.
So I've kind of picked out a few films that I'm excited to see. Now, one is, talk about a delayed sequel. 1986, Top Gun comes out. Tom Cruise, it just puts him on the map. Now, we'd already been having success building, but Top Gun just really catapulted him into like superstardom. And now we're getting the sequel. Like, talk about a wait.
20-something years later, is it?
And more. And so it's like I know himself and Jerry Bruckheimer, the producer, for years have been trying to figure it out. And Tony Scott, the director, sadly took his own life. So I know it has been on the back burner for a while, but you kind of feel like, seriously though, lads, over 30 years, and now, we were only seeing the sequel now. Has, that magic gone?
Or the appetite even for it?
Really, like at the moment, Tom Cruise's career has definitely come back thanks to the success of the Mission Impossible films, but Cruise isn't really testing himself outside of this action model. And you'd be hard pressed for him now to take on another Magnolia-like role. He really just wants to do the action man thing. So I don't know. Now, look, there's a great cast in there. John Hamm from Mad Men fame is in there too. Jennifer Connelly is there as well. So she plays the love interest in it. I'm still a little bit on the fence about this. But they said they wanted to spend the time crafting the aerial fight sequences. So I'm imagining it's going to look amazing. And Cruise said, look, don't be expecting much CGI here. A lot of it's going to be real. Well, I've got high hopes for that one, Lisa.
Good.
Another one I've got high hopes for is probably a film which is not going to get all the attention like the blockbusters, but it's a film I just want people the edit viewers to kind of maybe sit up and take note of. It's called Nobody. It stars Bob Odenkirk, who's probably best known for playing Saul, the unscrupulous attorney that was in Breaking Bad, and now he got his own spin-off, Better Call Saul. But this is from the creators of John Wick, and John Wick, as we know, has been huge. And if all goes according to plan this year, Keanu Reeves is set to film John Wick 4 and 5 back to back. So, but this is a spin-off of sorts. I don't know if it's necessarily within that world, but Odenkirk plays a man with a shadowy past that comes back, and we didn't realise that this very mild-mannered suburbanite has an incredible array of skills that is up there with John Wick, and he has an awful lot of artillery buried in the basement. So it is a revenge movie, but it looks a whole load of fun. And I think this could be the big surprise hit of 2021 if we're back in cinemas.
Exactly.
Another film I'm kind of intrigued to see how it's going to go down is Halloween Kills. You'll remember from a couple of years ago, we saw, well, maybe even more now, about nearly 3 years, we saw a sequel to the original 1978 Halloween.
Of course.
Because it wanted to whitewash all the other sequels. And Jamie Lee Curtis came back.
Curtis, yeah.
And now that was such a huge hit that Blumhouse and Universal said, right, we want more, let's shoot 2 sequels back to back. So that's what we're getting, Halloween Kills. If anyone saw that at the end of the last film, how did Michael Myers survive? He survived because we're getting 2 more films. So I'm intrigued to see how that one's going to go. Other movies of note, Dune is an adaptation of what was deemed an unfilmable novel. Our friend David Lynch, I mentioned I thought would helm the likes of WandaVision. He tried to make, well, he did make a version of Dune back in the mid-80s with Sting. Say no more.
Jeez, I'll keep my mouth shut there.
It didn't work. But Denis Villeneuve is the Canadian director behind it, and look, he's superb. I've got high hopes for it. But stateside, it's going on HBO Max, which a lot of people are not happy with because they feel like, hang on a second, you're going to take away from the cinema side of things. Anyway, that looks great. But the film I'm really intrigued to see.
I know what it is.
Yeah,
Go on.
I'm a big Bond fan.
007.
Yeah, Daniel Craig's last outing as the super spy. Like, it has been really pushed from pillar to post, this film, because of COVID. And so I hope it's the swan song, of greatness for him, because his tenure as Bond has had ups and downs. Casino Royale and Skyfall being absolutely superb. Spectre was just a bit
I didn't like it.
Wasn't it?
No.
And Quantum of Solace suffered from the writer's strike, so they were going in with a half-baked script. So with No Time to Die, you've got a great director at the helm. So fingers crossed it all goes well.
Fingers crossed. Okay, brilliant stuff. Well, of course, there's one that I'm dying to see. I'm a massive Beatles fan. I love all 60s memorabilia and, of course, the bands themselves. Peter Jackson has a brand new documentary that's coming out called The Beatles Get Back. So I want to hear your opinion on it. But first, let's take a wee clip.
Hi, everybody, especially any Beatles fans who are watching this. This is Peter Jackson, and welcome to our cutting room, where we're working on our new movie, The Beatles Get Back. Now, this film was due to be finished around about now, but like the rest of the world, it's been affected by the COVID pandemic. And the only good thing, really, is that we're editing the movie in New Zealand. And now that our country has largely stamped out the virus, we were able to come back into the cutting room and carry on with the editing that we're doing. So here we are. We've got 56 hours of never-before-seen Beatles footage, and it's really, it's great stuff. And I would say we're about halfway through the edit now. But because you've been so patient and the film's been delayed until 2021, we thought it was a good time to give you a little sneaky preview of what we've been working on and the sort of vibe and the energy that the film's going to have.
Beatle George Harrison, above, is due in court here today to answer assault charges. Harrison is accused of assaulting a photographer last May as he and Beatle Ringo Starr left a nightclub. Hey!
Oh, you see now, to me, that just looks absolutely epic. I can't wait to see it. Gordon, what's your thoughts?
Well, Peter Jackson, he has been I think Beatles fans would be just so jealous of him. He was given over 56 hours worth of footage.
I'm jealous.
Oh my God. So because of COVID, they've, as he was mentioning there as well, that they had time to try and really spend crafting the edit. So I think what we're going to get out of this documentary that I think a lot of Beatles fans will really like is those moments when the band are just laughing and messing around. Those moments when they're not on as such. Do you know what I mean? They're not in performance mode. They're not really being pensive, trying to work away on a song. So you're getting to see them just sort of acting the Egypt and having a bit of a laugh in the studio, and just, the camaraderie, which is wonderful to see. So I hope anyway, we're going to get an awful lot of that from Peter Jackson. And I think Peter Jackson has found his mojo again with documentaries, because you'll know he made one there recently. Was it They Will Never Grow Old? I'm sorry, I'm probably making a hames the name of that. But it was all this old footage of World War I.
That's right, and it was recoloured and everything. It was beautiful, I saw that.
Amazing digitization of that. So I I'm intrigued to see how much his wetter boffins are going to enhance the footage here as well.
But the thing is, it's a big mantle to take because the Beatles are probably the best band in the whole world. You know, obviously two are deceased, sadly, so you've only got, you know, McCartney left and Ringo. So I wonder what their take is going to be on it as well, especially looking back, you know, all those years ago to Let It Be and when they were recording those studio albums. You know, will they be kind of nostalgic or will it bring back funny memories for them?
Yeah,
you know?
well, I know Ron Howard made a documentary with them 8 days a week, which is about the touring years of the Beatles. And Paul and Ringo were, you know, I mean, just, they had as much energy as they've ever had before in promoting that. So I think you will see the fact that they're now working with another credible director, a good, safe pair of hands. I can't imagine there's going to be anything that's going to make them in any way a bit wary of this project.
Okay, Gordon, thanks very much. Always a pleasure having you on the sofa. And if you're a fan like me of the Beatles, here's a little bit more from the documentary, The Beatles Get Back.
Wearing raincoats, standing so low in the sun. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Go on, Al. What? Did what? Go on, Al. That's the...
Look, don't interrupt stars when they're recording. We're bloody stars, you know.
Don't come in.
Cheek.
Now, one of Britain's best-loved entertainers, Joe Pasquale, is a man of many talents. From success on television, appearing in such hit TV shows as I'm a Celebrity and Dancing with the Stars, to treading the boards up and down the UK. He has also added author to his list of credits, and Joe recently released his second book, Dead Knobs and Doomsticks 2, Tales from the Lockdown. Joe, you're back for another horror anthology with Dead Knobs and Doomsticks 2. You have 19 new tales of horror. What can you tell us about them?
Well, it's called Tales of the Lockdown because they were obviously written during this period of time, and nearly all the stories are written about a period of lockdown, not necessarily what's going on there. I think 3 or 4 of them about this time period, but there's some others which throughout history, different lockdowns that happened. There's one about the Salem witch trials when the whole town was locked down. There's another one about the First World War. Somebody's in the trenches, locked down in that period of time as well. It's quite a wide eclectic range of time period stories and genres really in there. There's a bit of sci-fi, there's a bit of blatant vampirism on some of it. So yeah, it's I really enjoyed doing the whole the whole transition of writing it and making each story completely different.
When do you normally set aside time in your day to write?
In actual fact, I found it easier than I had previously, because last time I wrote the first book, which was about 3 years ago, I was on tour. So I'd be writing it while I was on the way to gigs. One minute I'm doing comedy, doing stand-up. The next minute I'm doing all this blood, guts and gore. And so it was quite a battle then to do it and to get it finished in time. And I was also illustrated it. So before a gig, I'd be in the dressing room, I'd be painting, I'd do only watercolours, but I'd do the paintings before the gig. And then I'd get back to the digs and then finish it off there. So this time I found it easier, basically because I could actually put the time into it properly. And there's a weird, the whole thing was different way of writing. Sometimes a couple of stories I actually dreamt them. There was a complete story. I woke up, what I found is I had my notebook and pen by the bed, because sometimes I'd wake up and I'd dream a whole story beginning to end. And that was it. I'd write notes in the middle of the night. Okay, this is it. There's little pictures I'd draw of it, and it just came out. Some were completely fully formed, and I don't know where that came from. It was a weird experience.
The most recent series of I'm A Celeb in Wales was a huge hit. Now, how was your experience in the jungle back in 2002? Like, did you ever think you would be crowned king of the jungle?
You only see an hour until at night, and when you're in it, it's like being on the worst holiday in the world. That's what it's like, and you don't know what they're showing, because most of the time I sat there keeping out the arguments. So I thought, well, I'm not doing a lot here. But, when I did, I was like a shark walking about like that, just really quiet. And every now and then something would happen and I'd jump up and do something. But, it's not like you're sitting there being active all the time. And so you in your head, you're thinking, I'm not doing nothing here. Nothing's being seen, nothing's being said. But because they edit it so heavily and they put the highlights of the day in, you have no concept of what's being seen. So no, I didn't have any idea at all. There's what's funny is you don't see it at home either. Is they've got hides, what they call hides. You know, basically it's like fiberglass rocks, and inside it there's a hole in the middle of it. And inside there's a cameraman in there, ensconced in there, he's hiding, and he's filming everything you're doing. And you can see the slot in it, so you know the camera's there. And every now and then, it must have been so boring for them. They were doing 3 shifts, and you could hear him dozing off sometimes. And one day he was snoring. He was like that. There's nothing happened. So I went over and I banged on the phone. Wake up like that. And he went, oh God, like that. He was really scared. It was great.
What did you find the most challenging part of I'm A Celeb?
Well, I really loved it. A lot of people say afterwards, oh, they made me look really bad because of the edit. And the producer always says afterwards, we can't make you say something or do something. If you've said something, we're going to show it. If you've done something, we're going to show it. We can't make you look bad unless you've done something bad. And I really enjoyed the experience. It's boring, I have to say. The worst thing was the boredom, because you only see an hour a day of what's gone on. You know, Ant and Decker coming in, make it look fun. Look at that. He's jumped out of a plane today, then he fell in the river, then he got soaking wet, then they ate kangaroo's woolly, and then they had a big row, and that was what a fantastic day. But the reality is, there's another 23 hours where nothing happens. You just sit there, people arguing and blowing off all day, and you don't see that.
Joe Pasquale, thanks a million for your time, and best of luck with your new horror anthology, Dead Knobs and Doomsticks 2, Tales from the Lockdown. And if you're in need of a good read, you can grab Joe's book in all major bookstores online nationwide. Don't forget to like and subscribe to The Edit. You can catch the show every week on thestyleedit.com, lisacannon.ie and glamdoll.ie. Well, that's it from us here for another week, but coming up on next week's show, we have an exclusive chat with I'm Too Sexy 90s band Right Said Fred about releasing new music and their career to date. Plus, Gordon will be back with his recommendations to watch on streaming services. So till then, from me, Lisa Cannon, and all of us here on The Edit, we'll catch you again next week. Take care. Bye-bye. The Edit, brought to you by Glam Doll, bringing Hollywood home.